Game on. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for joining Good People podcast. You're a great guy. You're good people,
I'm
which makes
excited to
sense.
be here.
Yeah, thanks, and we got a number of questions I want to ask you, and yeah, just share how much or however little you want to share. And my sense is that everybody's got a little thing in their mind
Mhm.
from the experiences that they've had in their lives and from the from the things they've seen, from the things they've experienced, from the things they've learned. And um, if we can draw it out of people, then we can learn from them, and if we share it, then um, people's lives would be better.
Yeah,
What is it?
absolutely.
There's this one quote that says, "There are some people who learn from the stories of others, Um, and there's some people who learn by other people telling them. And then what does it say? The rest of them have to pee on the electric fence all on their own." So for the people that have to pee on the electric fence all on their own, don't listen to this, just go. But for everybody
Just filled
else,
out your
like,
business.
yeah, like you've got experience. That's totally shareable, right? So, yeah, let's roll here. Question A. Uh, Tell me, man, who is the best person you've ever worked with, and tell me a story about them.
Best person I ever worked with. It was actually a former employer of mine. His name was Troy Huseman. He owned the control panel company
Oh, sure, yeah, I
that
know
I
that
had
guy.
I had worked with when I got started doing all of the commercial assistant stuff. Um, and it wasn't so much like he taught me a lot of stuff that I was able to transfer into my own business. And at that time, I actually had a notary business I was doing as well. Um, and the awesome thing that he did was because he had a lot of different businesses that he was running, he had no issues taking time to answer like some just basic questions about running a business for me. And he
Right.
didn't take it personal at all and wasn't upset about it. But he was just that kind of guy. He would just take the time, no matter how busy he was, and he was ridiculously busy all the time,
Oh, sure.
um, to slow down and teach people stuff. And that was something I just always appreciated about him was, I had an office right next to him, and I would see him go out on the floor just to check on, status of different projects and stuff. And if I happened to be out there a few minutes later, I noticed that he'd stopped doing whatever he was already working on and just be out there teaching people different aspects of why control panels, flow the way they do and the parts the way they do. And it was just kind of inspiring just to know that like that's who he was. He just wanted to teach people. And I appreciated very much about him.
For sure. Yeah. I find that if you want to really be a gainer of knowledge, we need to be the one sharing it, because there's this thing when knowledge is shared, it actually is multiplied. And if you hoard it for some reason, it doesn't multiply in the same way. It doesn't grow in the same way. It certainly doesn't benefit you in the same way, right? If I have
That's
an
100%
idea,
true.
I share it with you. It's like it didn't. It transferred from me to you, but it's not lost in me. Now
Right.
you and I can grow in.
Yep. Yeah.
Totally
So
great,
that's
man.
one thing I really appreciated about him.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, yeah. Tell me about this, man. Been thinking about the power of thought. Thinking about the power of thought is pretty meta. Power of positivity. You're naturally upbeat and positive, but there's got to be some days,
Hmm.
right, in your personal life, you don't feel like being positive. You don't feel like being upbeat. So in those moments, tell me how you manage that situation. What do you do then?
The first thing for me, because we all have those days. First thing
Sure.
for me is I believe in what I tell myself and also what I tell others. So if I'm having a stressed out day or something, I'm never going to just flat out say it's a stressed out day. It's always a good day, no matter what. I'm always having a good day, no matter
Nice.
what. If you
Sure.
call me up and I'm having just an absolutely crazy day and it's nothing's gotten right, you're not going to hear me say that. You're going to hear me say that I'm still having a good day, um, or because that for me is I'm telling myself that it's it that I'm having a good day. It's one of those like I guess fake it till you make it kind of things. Like I'm gonna tell
Sure.
myself I'm having a good day, even if it's not a good day. And by the end of the day, I've never truly been able to look back at anything and say, wow, that was a really bad day. Like no, I'm able to look back and still find positivity in all my days when I look back at everything and how everything's worked itself out. So it's just more or less what I tell myself and what I tell others because I don't want to allow negativity into me. Um,
Super
the
smart.
the more I succumb to that and allow the words to internalize, the more that it becomes projectable then. And I don't want to be that person. So
Sure.
I exude it internally, or I don't allow it internally, and I exude positivity externally then.
Wow. Yeah, it's super powerful. Interesting. It reminds me of this quote. There's nothing so bad that complaining about it doesn't make it worse.
Right. No, that's and the crazy thing is I didn't know how powerful it was until um God, this is like 10 years ago. I was working for a mortgage company at the time, and I had decided to start journaling. And I'd really started getting like very specific about like my journaling and my goals and stuff. And instead of saying I might do this or I'll try to do that, it was, I will do this. I'm going to do that. And I started like using that and I started noticing like I started being more successful with my clients. I started just having success
Interesting.
at work. And then one day I was having a great day. One day I was just having a great day and I decided to take a break and take a walk outside. And there was a coworker of mine that was having a smoke break. She started venting about her day. And I don't know why, instead
Sure.
of just letting her vent and let her do her thing, I like reflected on my day and jumped in on some of the venting then too. And then by
Yeah.
the end of the day, I felt frustrated and I couldn't figure out why other than I allowed that in and I was frustrated for the rest of the day then. So from that point on, I was like, I won't try to familiarize with people who are frustrated. I will allow them just to be frustrated, and that is okay. But I'm
Right.
not going to try to assimilate with them and try to say like, oh yeah, I'm equally as frustrated right here, right now too.
Right. And it's actually my sense is that it's natural for us to do that because we want to identify with people, we want to validate them.
Hmm.
And so the shortcut to validation, and sometimes shortcuts actually aren't good, right?
Hmm.
Is dude, totally in the same boat as you. I'm pissed off about this, blah, 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 right? And so
Right.
we can validate people without actually being in the boat with them necessarily, right?
But yeah,
So,
that was a weird lesson that I learned that I wasn't anticipating during that time.
sure, yep. And that actually sort of, leads you to this concept of what a lot of people say, right? You're the average of the five people you spend the most time with,
I
right?
wholeheartedly live by that statement.
Sure.
I've lived by that forever. It's probably one of my go-to things that I firmly believe in. And it's not just the people, it's also the things that you're letting into your life, the books you're reading, the
Yep.
music and podcasts you're listening to,
Hmm.
what you're bringing into you is also what you're exuding out that too. And
Super nice. Yep.
and so it's everything.
Wow. Yep. That's super good. And you probably noticed as we work together, right? I'm actually trying to decrease the number of inputs that
Hmm.
are coming into my life, right? And then, but then not just decrease for decreasing sake, even though that is positive, but I'm
Hmm.
also trying to focus in on the things that I am getting inputs in,
Right.
to make them the most powerful things. As yeah, it's super interesting, man. Tell me about this. Um, as I was reflecting, I was thinking that, life is a series of moments, good moments, bad
Hmm.
moments, boring moments. If you could take, right, a snapshot of one of those moments in your life and present it to God and say, hey, this is not true, but I want this to be a representation of my entire life, right? What's that one piece that you want to represent your entire life? What's that one moment?
I actually have two when I think about that one.
Cool.
So I'm getting a little selfish instead of just one.
Sure.
But so the first one was when I started doing mortgages. I never finished college. I never did anything like that. But When I started doing mortgages, they warned me when I was studying for that at Quicken Loans that these are college level, like bachelor, master level understandings that you have to do because it's all law. That's what it is. You have to understand mortgage
Sure.
law and make sure that one you understand it and two that you're not going to break it.
Yeah, right.
And so I thought that I was pretty smart up until that time. During that entire it's we cram everything into 4 weeks, and during that entire time, I kept repeatedly just falling short of passing every test. Every test, all four
Sure.
weeks, I kept falling short all 4 weeks, and it was
A
very
couple of questions
frustrating.
is all, right?
Yeah,
Just
that's
missing
all that
by a
would have
few
made the
questions.
difference.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and so it was easy to get discouraged and stuff, but I wasn't really one to get discouraged. I was there from probably 6 in the morning until about 10 p.m. at night, making sure that I put in the hours to study it then and get
Good,
it done.
man.
There were a couple of times I actually fell asleep at the office there, um, just to make it. I'm
That's
gonna
hype, though.
pass this test one way or another. I
Sure.
was 21, so I was gonna make it one way or another. It didn't matter to me, and so um, when I got to the test and I took it, the thing I did was you have this note card they give you, and you can't take anything in with you. You can't take anything out with you. They just give you this note card. You write on it, and then they take it back away from you. I just wrote myself a letter to myself when I sat down to take my test. I knew I hadn't passed anything up until that point, but something about sitting down and writing a letter to myself, hey, Bree, you know this, you got this. Let's slow down and take our time for it, and just work the process, trust the process. And I finished the test. 2 hours later, I got an email saying that I had passed the test with a 92. And I I had never felt more proud of myself than in that moment.
Sure.
Um, graduating high school, that was expected. Getting my Eagle Scout and stuff, that was expected. But actually setting down this goal of mine and putting in the hours and then seeing that I could do it, probably hands down one of the biggest things that I was accomplishments that I was proud of myself for. Um,
Sure. Wow, that's an amazing story, man. Totally amazing story.
and then the second one is actually much more heartwarming for me, but it was the first time because I have I have my son, and we had to go through a custody situation for him when he was 6 months old, and right about I'd say a little after he was one, um, I wasn't really familiar with being a parent up until that point because it was just a custody situation back and forth. And so it was a little after one. I had him 100% on my own. I was allowed to. He was mine. I was allowed to go and do what I wanted to do, and it was taking him to it was Halloween actually. I remember it was like this Halloween event. We went and got a costume for him and getting ready and taking him to this Halloween event that was a movie in the park, and just being there with him made me not only proud of the fact that I got to that point, like I fought for my son, I got to have time with him, but also just that life can slow down and that's okay. And
Sure.
he really reminded me of that in that moment. And that's how I try to, and I try to live things by that. It's just a slow down time for him. And there's no reason to rush or get through things. Just let's explore, see what's going on.
Sure.
And so that was another big thing that I would like to, present to God. I think that one actually means more to me than the first one, but
Sure.
it was a big thing, a big deal to me.
Wow, that's super interesting. Yeah. Family, man. At the end of the day, like, of course, we're talking to help small business owners to figure out productivity hacks. We're trying to do all these things. But at the
Hmm.
end of the day, like, that's just a means to an end, and the end has to be you're present, you're involved, you're well with family and friends.
Right.
You're taking care of people. You're building a better world. You're becoming who God meant for you to be, right?
Right.
Uh, we're not meant to be working 25 hours in every 24-hour day, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
we need to be serious about our work. We need to optimize our time. We need to figure out, which is why we talk about and discuss about better ways to do business, better ways to manage ourselves, etc. But net, we have to remember that the end goal is to are those little moments where we're just one on one with another child of God and fully present, fully engaged. It's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about this. Um, uh, you and I we talked a lot about mental inputs.
Hmm.
Um, so whether that's what you watch, what you read, uh, what you listen to, right?
Hmm.
I grew up in the 90s. I'm a product of the 90s for better or for worse. The number of mental inputs has 10x or possibly 100x since the 90s, right?
Right.
Everybody's got a phone in their pocket, so you get all these push notifications. There were pagers back then, but not a lot of like phones or mobile phones, car
Right.
phones, right? And so those kind of mental inputs, you're gonna have 100 times more channels to
Oh yeah.
watch. Like you got your, I'm pretty sure HBO was a thing in the '90s. Now you got what
Hmm.
HBO Max, Peacock, YouTube Live,
Netflix. Yep.
Netflix, Hulu, etc. You have all of these different channels on side of YouTube, etc.
Hmm.
Um, but now it feels like we're in the age of distraction. Uh, Tell me about how you, given that we're inside the age of distraction, tell me how you still get stuff done, how you focus on tasks.
So it's actually funny because the way that I do stuff, if I were a W-2 employee at like an actual company, they don't agree with this at all. But I first and foremost, I don't. I'm like 90% positive I don't have ADHD, but there's that 10% that it might be there. I'm not 100%. So, um, for me, first thing I have to do is everything goes into I'm a huge fan of like my ClickUp. Like it's just
Sure.
something needs to be organized. Like I have to have everything organized. I'm a very concrete person myself. And in all fairness, like family members and stuff have noted this about me as well. I don't really do too well. Like I'm pretty flexible, but if plans change too crazy or too much too often, I'm not like I try to plan for everything.
Right.
So I'm planned and I'm ready to go. Um, when let's say I have too many things that are coming at me or I feel like I have too much on my plate, and I need to just focus on getting it like stuff done. Uh, there's a quote that I remind myself of, and I believe it's from the movie The Martian with Matt Damon.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and he just says the quote, you just start working on the first thing. And then once that's done, move to the next thing. If if I'm going through my to-do list and it's going according to plan, awesome. No qualms. But if I start to notice that I have too many things coming in or I can't seem to like zero in on something, I'm just gonna pick one thing then. I don't care what it is, but I'm gonna pick
Understood.
one thing and I'm gonna work that all the way to completion just so that way my brain gets into okay, we're done, let's move on to the next task.
Right.
And I've
And
noticed that that is a recurring
yeah,
thing.
it is not necessarily. So if you look back, right, it's probably not necessarily the highest priority task
Correct.
because
Sometimes it's not.
right, because in that melee of like, oh, I have all this stuff to do, it's
Mhm.
hard to figure out like, okay, what's the ultimate highest priority task? So then
Right.
you just say, well, I have this small universe, this subset of um,
Mhm.
tasks that I have to do. I might as well get one of them done because at least they made it to this high, so
Mhm.
they at least have some priority level.
Correct. And the way that I look at it as well, I actually I've written a lot of blogs about this productivity and stuff. There's like I don't really know how else to describe it other than like you get like a sense of pride and it makes you want to continue doing like checking out more stuff when you have an actual checklist. So when it gets to that point, I instead of utilizing all these computer things that I like to use, I will go old school pen and paper, and I will just write everything down so that way I can check it off. And then it gives your brain kind of that endorphin high of, okay, that one's done. Next thing, check. Next
Mm-hmm.
thing, check.
Yeah.
And then everything just kind of falls in line after that.
It's
Forest.
actually funny. Like we have access to the entire world of productivity tools,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, I still write down in my journal things I want to do.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of utilizing both. I don't think that one like utilizing one will ever truly be like the end all be all. I feel like you have to have both to make it happen. Like I love my Google Calendar. I'm a massive Google Calendar nerd. But if you look at my planner, it looks like a work of art.
For
I,
sure.
I love my planner, my physical daytime planner. That thing, without it, I think I'd be lost.
Yeah. Tell me this, man. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about, yeah, we're talking about individual performance for a little while, but let's talk about team performance. What
Okay.
is the best, highest performing team you've ever been a part of? Tell me a story about them, and maybe I'll step back and say why. Because I feel like high performing teams, there's this golden thread that runs between all of them. And
There was.
yeah, tell me, man.
So the best one that I can think of where I can actually say like I know we were high performing was when I was working at Quicken Loans. Um, they when you first like so after you get your license, you go into like this you go into these two different teams that just outbound and essentially you're a telemarketer. You stay in that position for like 6 months waiting for all your state licenses to drop. But once you're done and you actually get on to doing mortgages and you actually get to do what they hired you to do, um, you've never done it before. So they put you on these new banker teams, I guess they would call it. And when I was on like when I started, they revamped their whole division of new bankers and they broke them into instead of like 8 miniature teams, they broke them into 4 mega teams. And that first month, it didn't. There was no productivity at all there. There was everybody was just trying to understand the new flows and everything,
Sure.
and what was going on. Um, and so immediately they went right back to month two. That didn't work. Went right back to the mini teams, and I got blessed with a director who he this was his first team he was ever actually working on. On the mega team, he was the like assistant director, so this was his first true team he was on, and the way that we went from everybody being on the same level because this was back to 8 mini teams, nobody's performed better or worse yet, to being top of our region in that first month by pretty much just he just took the time to talk to us and get to know us individually, and
Beautiful.
then he would help us almost reverse engineer like our goals so that
Mm,
way it was relevant to the work we were doing then. He
right.
helped us he gave us a reason to want to put in the work to get that goal net. And he
Smart.
helped us understand that. And so we did. We put in quite a few hours. I will say like I was in like last place on that team for the first half of the month. And then all of a sudden like it clicked the second half of the month and I think I finished in second place. If I had just
Okay.
had one more day, I probably would have done more. But
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
but I did it. I busted it out the last half of the month. But we all collectively worked together for it. Um, and like when we get calls, sometimes for like states, because I'm not licensed in every state. I think I was licensed in like 17 states at that time. If I got a state I wasn't licensed in, instead of like handing it off to somebody on a different team that I knew was licensed, we were taking the time to make sure we knew like what our team strengths were, who on our team has this
Smart.
state, so that way we can all make sure our team is thriving. So, um, and that was, in my opinion, better than like another team I worked on that they were known for being a top performing team, and one thing about Quicken Loans over there was it's very much like Wolf of Wall Street. um,
Sure.
if you can imagine that, like the parties are real, the just chaos and work atmosphere is almost scene for scene like it. It's ridiculous.
Sure.
Um, and so the one of the teams that I was on after that, I didn't do as well on because they were all about like the partying and stuff instead. And I was like, that see, it doesn't resonate with me. Some of
Right.
the people it resonated better with, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna party and we can work hard and stuff. I was like, I have external factors instead that mean more. Like let's save up for houses and kids, and futures and stuff
For
instead.
sure. Yeah.
Um, and so that's where I think that why our team was like the highest performing team. We beat them up, and that meant a lot to me.
For sure. Yeah. If I were to summarize, if I'm understanding correctly, it's a function of the leader getting to know you at a personal level,
Mhm.
breaking down the goals into essentially a funnel where we say, if I want this output, then I need to achieve this input that is fed from that input, that's fed from that input. Hence,
Correct.
this work you're doing leads to that output. And then the third thing I heard was um, this concept of specialization on the team to say,
Yes.
hey, we're not the exact same autonomous robots. We're actually um, unique people with unique strengths. So as
Correct.
unique problems come in, we make sure we share that with different people on the team.
Yep. Yep. If we had to sum up, that's exactly what those three were.
That's awesome. Yeah, tell me a story a little bit about one of your heroes.
So my biggest hero is my grandpa. Um, that man has been my hero my whole life. I never met my dad,
Right.
and so he stepped up into the role and was my male role model growing up my entire life. Uh, I can pretty much tell you a million stories about him.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you a current story that is going on in Spain right now. So my mom has been working for a long time now on getting her own business going. She's an occupational therapist for kids with disabilities, pediatrics, and so um, she's done that for the last 30-ish years, I think.
Wow.
Um, so the clinic, like she's worked in school districts, she's worked for private clinics, and done everything in between. But what she's had to do lately, and this kind of started around COVID time, was she learned that they made more money at the clinic that she was working at if they did on the road, like in home visits and everything instead of coming to the actual clinic. But then what she found out was if and this is through the state, like she's in Arizona still. So through the state of Arizona, they pay more if you go to an in-home clinic or an in-home visit versus having them come to the clinic. Well, she found out that if she started her own business and had everything centralized, that it didn't matter if she did it at home or if they came to her, she would make the same rate, essentially more because she can take on more kids then
Sure.
instead of
Yeah.
being on the road as much. So um, the first thing was to start taking on some clients of hers, and so she did. But she needed to have everything that was like ADA compliant, American with Disabilities Association compliant and stuff. So she um she got a barn. Yeah, it pretty much looks like a barn. And it was an old like weightlifting studio at some guy's house. That's what.
Sure.
Oh,
Incoming call.
yeah. Sorry. Um. So yeah, essentially it was just that weightlifting studio and stuff. So we got it over to the house, but we needed to rerun the wires inside the house to get all the electricity down in there. So we had lights
Sure.
in there, get the AC up and running and everything. So the reason my grandpa's my hero for it is he didn't have to do all this stuff. I mean, he worked in construction for the first half of his life, and then he worked as a building inspector for the city of Phoenix for the second half.
Here.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, sorry. It said that you lost me there. Um, but my grandpa's up there. He's retired, and he doesn't need to be doing this work and stuff. And I definitely don't encourage it most days,
Sure.
for it. But he's out there working regardless. And when I asked him about it, why is that the case? You know, my daughter wants this business, so I'm gonna give it to her. I'm gonna help her do whatever I have to do to help her accomplish this goal. Um, and so he's put in quite a few hours just to get the first building done, and now working on the next building, which is the ADA bathroom.
Sure.
That's just kind of who my grandpa is, though. He just puts in the hour, like he just puts in the work, and you never hear him complain about it. Doesn't do anything. He's the person you call, and it's just gonna get done. Like
Yeah.
he's just your safety person. Whenever I've had a car breakdown on me, he's who I call. Whenever I've tried to do projects around my house, he's who I call. Even when I don't know how to handle like relationship issues.
Sure.
Nothing construction related. He's who you
Sure.
call. He's just kind of been the voice of reason as well. So, um, like I said, I could tell you a million stories, but he's just kind of been through it all.
Well, that's so awesome, man. Thanks for sharing your heroic stories. But here's the thing, right? I know you, talk to you every day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're becoming like your hero, the nun.
I hope so. There's a lot of times I don't think so. But I think it's because I put him up on such a pedestal. It's
Sure,
hard. It's your hero.
right,
They're up on a
right.
pedestal for a
Of
reason.
course. Yep, absolutely. Little by little, right? We set the vision for ourselves, and that sets the track. We stay on
Hmm.
the track toward the vision. We will achieve it. We got to pick the right heroes, for sure.
That's true.
Seems like you did, man. Um, Tell me this. Um, where do you go and what do you do to get inspiration from a higher source, a higher power, the powers that be, the ether, God, the
Right.
chakras, whatever you want to call it, right? Uh, Intelligence can only take you so far, but true impact comes from inspired sources, I feel, right?
No,
Uh,
it's 100% true there. So, a couple of things that I do. I'm big on prayer. I'm a huge. So I'm Christian through and through, but
sure,
I pray religiously at least 3 times a day. Sometimes it's more, but like
sure,
it's never less than that.
sure.
Um, first thing when I wake up, first thing before I go anywhere in my car, and then at the end of the night before I call it a day. Um, those are the three guaranteed times you will always know that I am making some type of prayer.
Wow,
But to aid in that, I believe in reading the Bible,
sure,
and I'm actually I'm very particular about my Bible too, though, because
sure,
I got one when I was in I think I was like 17. I got one, and ever since then, that's the one I compare everything to. So even though I couldn't
sure.
find it for about a year and a half, because it was packed away in some boxes, I couldn't find it, and then my mom finally said she found it. So it's actually back over here on my nightstand, where I know where it's at. But
Sure.
I'm particular, but I read that Bible, and I've been reading it for 30, another 17 years now. Wow.
Wow.
God, I'm getting old. Um, and then to put those things into like work with things, I volunteer a lot, and that is where I get a lot of inspiration from things too. Is when you're volunteering and you get to see the impact of things. Like, sure, I might not say that like it's a bad day, but like internally, I might be feeling like, oh, this is a bad day, or I've been feeling crummy or something lately. When you get out and you volunteer and you see like, okay, I'm not nearly in that position,
Right.
like at all. Like it
Right.
kind of puts things in perspective, and it makes you enjoy the things that you do have, and it just it for me also. I have kind of a bleeding heart. I'm like, I just want to make things better. Like, how much money is this? I have this is all I have. Can you take it all? Will this make things better for you as well? Like,
Right.
what resources can this help? Kind of thing. So
Nice. Yeah.
I'm actually really bad at that. I have to constantly remind myself not to overspend when I go to places to volunteer at, because I'm there
Right.
to volunteer time, not give away my entire paycheck,
For sure.
kind of thing. But those two things combined are, well, actually three things. My prayer, my reading, and my volunteering. Um, but I think I get most out of volunteering than
Yeah.
anything else.
Oh, that's so great, man. There's a story in the Bible that's so exciting. I think it's Elijah. He was taken to this high mountain, and God shows
Mm,
him this crazy tornado. And he's like, "Yeah, I saw a very crazy tornado sent to me from God, but the voice of God wasn't in the tornado." And then he sees this crazy fire, and then he says, "This was an insane fire given to me by God to show me something, right?" But the voice of God wasn't in there. And then he heard a still, quiet, small voice, and that was the voice of God.
mm,
And so for me, yes, absolutely, it's prayer. Trying to follow the example of Jesus Christ, the Savior, you know.
mm,
Um, and then I also try to follow these small little bumps that come to me in my mind, something that's good that I should
mm.
do. It's like, hey, say a nice thing to your daughter, you know, help your little boy with this. Like those little positive nudgings are, I believe, guidance from God to help me have a better life. And so
I
I
agree
try to
with
follow
that.
those things.
I was like that as well, when I like with my kids, and then same thing like with an ex girlfriend of mine as well. Like I felt like the little nudges, like, hey, buy flowers on the way home or something like that. Just
Nice.
little things. Just say, hey, remind them that they're appreciated, that they're adored, kind of thing as well. Um, I don't need anything out of this. I just want to make sure you know that you're adored and appreciated as well. Those are little things like little nudges that you're talking about as well,
It's beautiful.
that I
And
would trigger.
that that source is so my sense is that you can draw power from two different sources. Uh
Hmm.
Basically love and hate. Um
Absolutely.
but I'll tell you, the power source from hate is there there's plenty of there. There's plenty in there. If you want to
Oh, it's
go
very strong.
dive down in there, right? But it's better, in my view, to be powered by love. And that's actually really hard to do because I can get annoyed, I can get hangry. Hanger is
Yeah,
powered by hate.
yeah.
But yeah, we effectively can choose what power we want to draw from. So that helps you to understand these feelings that come into your mind. If your conscience tells you to do something, right? And you can tell if it's
Hmm.
powered by love or hate,
Yeah, oh
right?
yeah.
And then
Your body can feel it. That's the crazy part. Is
right, you can feel truth,
you can feel like if it's fueled by hate, your body feels tense for whatever reason. You don't know why, but it's
100%.
just tense, and you're like, this isn't.
This isn't
I don't know
right.
why, but it's tense. You
Yes,
feel that in your body.
100%. And it seems to me like this sort of um this meta-dimensional ethereal force is incongruent with business, but I'll tell you, it's it's one and the same, honestly. And I think we should use that life force much more in our work than we do. You know. So here's an example, right? We look at companies to buy, right?
Hmm.
Um, you go in and you say, "Hey, I like this company because of X, Y, and Z," and it's typically because of revenues, profits, etc. And
Right.
then the ones I really pay attention to are, "Hey, this one feels right."
Yes.
All of a sudden, my blinders went off, and I'm like, "Hey, I want to do that."
Hmm.
Right? We should follow those feelings as well. No question about it.
Absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
truth there. All right, let's see. Okay, running a little bit out of time here. Okay, let's just talk about uh, what memento did you bring? I know it's just an object, but it holds emotional value, so it's more than just an object, right?
It is.
Life value. Tell me about it.
So, this is an interesting one because it actually answers two different ones, but um, it's something I always have on me. It's a non-negotiable as well. I always
Okay, yeah, yeah,
always
you
have
gotta
this
have it
on
on
me.
you.
Um, so for me, I know a lot of people have pictures of their kids and stuff with them and
Sure.
whatever. Um, because we're going through all the custody stuff
Oh, I lost microphone.
Maybe.
Okay, there we go.
All right, I apologize. I'm supposed to be on the do not call list, but here I am. Um, but because I'm going through all the custody stuff with my son, and um, for some reason, pictures don't really do the justification for me.
Sure, sure,
Um, Something that I've done before he was born, and then it was just I've done it every day since then. Was I carry a shirt of his with me. I always carry a shirt of his in my pocket. It's
Wow.
always in my right pocket.
Wow.
Um, I literally don't. Nothing goes in that pocket except for that
Except
shirt.
that shirt.
Like you will never see me. I'll put my hand in there, and that's
Hmm.
just to kind of remind me the shirt's in there and stuff. And
Sure.
it reins me in sometimes too. If I'm having a bad day or if I'm feeling frustrated or whatever it is,
Sure.
just reins me in that I've got a little guy at home that's watching what I do and who I am becoming as well. Um, but nothing goes in that pot. Like that is dedicated for that shirt, and I've done it for 5 years now.
Sure.
It's a memento, and for me, it's the same shirt. Beforehand it was a onesie,
Sure.
um, and then I somehow in the move, one of my moves, it got lost, and so
Sure.
now like I was like, you know what, this is it. It's staying with me
Sure.
forever. But yeah, it's a memento that is a non-negotiable. Like you can't say,
Super.
hey, you got to leave up. Nope, I'm sorry, that's coming with me. Like or I'm not going.
100%.
Like,
Yeah, and
um,
what does that memento do for you?
so right now, it just reminds me that like I said, I have a little guy that's watching me, but even more so with the custody stuff and everything going on, is that it's reminded me to continue to keep fighting for him, and for us to have that time with him.
Yep.
Um, I it's really easy that I've discovered going through this custody stuff that I can just roll over and not put up with it and just kind of take whatever is given to me, which would be weekends only and not have very much time with him, not have any say in how he is raised and
Sure.
things like that. But this kind of reminds me that when I look at this shirt and it's just a shirt, it says "little guy, big heart" right there on it.
Jeez,
Um,
man.
yeah,
Made
but
me cry.
but it just it reminds me when I saw him in that shirt and stuff that it's worth fighting. Like this is worth fighting for. He
Yeah.
is worth it to go through all of this. There are a lot of things in life that you may fight for that at the end of the day you go, what was that even worth? What
That
was
didn't
that? What was the
matter.
purpose of it? But this is a reminder that this he is worth fighting for, and he's worth putting in that work.
Yeah, that's beautiful. We gotta build our lives and build our organizations, frankly, around things that matter.
Yeah.
There's
Oh yeah.
there's this quote that I like that says, "Do not find yourself in the thick of thin things."
Ooh, that's a nice one.
Really nice. I don't know the attribution, but I can tell you for sure it's not me that came up with that. But yeah, we're swimming in a lot of froth, things
Yeah.
that don't matter. But it's great. You always keep that thing in your pocket, that shirt in your pocket. It
Hmm.
represents part of your soul, and also it it kind of becomes a north star for you because you know the kind of person you want to be.
Right.
Yeah, and the person you can be,
That's
yeah,
yeah.
it helps you to become that way, in my view.
Well, it's almost like an accountability thing, even when I have nothing else to hold me accountable. Like it's no one's there holding me accountable, but it reminds me to hold myself accountable. Then.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Breon Bradley, uh, CEO of ABCD, is it ABCD VA?
That's a VA virtual assistant. Yeah, VA was just I think the abbreviated version of it.
Sure. Yeah, ABCD VA. Thank you so much for the things you do. Of course, you've already, we just met a couple months back, but you've already changed the way I work, uh, changed the way that my life runs, and together we can do a lot of good. Inside your heart, there already is a lot of good, and thank you for spending time with me, sort of drawing that out so we can turn those into gems and share it with the world.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, was a pleasure, man. And go get some rest, and I'm sure we'll be hacking on something together here pretty soon.
Yeah, we'll be knocking out a lot. All right.
See you soon, man.
Have a good
Bye
day.
bye.